Hello everyone, and welcome to SIE 457. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most critical aspects of successful project management, mastering project risk. We'll explore a proactive approach to turn uncertainty into a manageable part of any project, based on the key concepts from Chapter 7 of Project Management course. So, to start, what exactly is a risk in the context of a project? A risk is any uncertain or chance event that planning can't directly overcome or control. If it happens, it can have a positive or a negative effect on your project's objectives. This brings us to risk management. It's not about reacting to problems as they happen. It's a proactive attempt to recognize and manage internal events and external threats that could affect your project's success. The goal is to answer a few key questions before you're in a crisis. What can go wrong? What will we do to minimize the impact? And what is our plan if the risk actually occurs? The timing of your risk management activities is crucial. This graph, the risk event graph, perfectly illustrates why. As you can see, early in the project, during the defining and planning phases, the chances of risks occurring are at their absolute highest. However, the cost to fix any problems at this stage is very low. Conversely, as you move into the executing and delivering phases, the cost to fix any risk event skyrockets. The key takeaway here is simple. Being proactive and addressing risks early almost save you an enormous amount of time, money, and stress later in the project. To manage risk effectively, we follow a structured, four-step process. Think of this as our roadmap for the entire risk management effort. First, we have Step 1. Risk identification, where our goal is to analyze the project and identify all potential sources of risk. Next is Step 2, risk assessment. Here, we evaluate those risks in terms of their severity, the likelihood of them occurring, and how much control we have over them. Then comes Step 3, risk response development, where we create strategies and develop contingency plans to reduce any potential damage. Finally, we have Step 4, risk response control. This step involves implementing our strategies, monitoring for new risks, and managing any changes that arise. It's important to remember this is an iterative process. The discovery of new risks at any stage can loop you back to an earlier step. Let's look closer at Step 1, identification. The goal here is to generate a comprehensive list of every possible risk that could impact the project. To do this, we use a few key techniques. Brainstorming with all relevant stakeholders is critical to get a wide range of perspectives. We also use tools like a risk breakdown structure, or RBS. As you can see in this diagram, an RBS provides a structured, hierarchical approach, helping us organize potential risks into categories like technical, external, organizational, and project management to ensure we don't miss anything. Once we have our list of risks, we need to prioritize them in Step 2, assessment. We can't address everything with the same level of intensity, so we need to focus our efforts where they matter most. A powerful tool for this is the Risk Severity Matrix. This matrix helps us visualize risks by mapping their likelihood of occurring against the severity of their impact on the project. This creates 3 distinct zones. The red zone highlights major risks, those with high likelihood and high impact. These are your top priorities. The yellow zone represents moderate risks that require attention, and the green zone contains minor risks that we might monitor but may decide to accept without a major action plan. For a more detailed assessment, especially in product development or process design, we can use a technique called FMEA, or Failure Mode and Effects Analysis. FMEA is a systematic, bottom-up technique used to identify potential design problems by examining the effects of lower-level failures on the entire system. It goes a step beyond the standard risk matrix by also considering how easily we can detect a failure before it causes harm. The output is a risk priority number, or RPN, which is calculated by multiplying severity, occurrence, and detection. The higher the RPN, the more critical the failure mode, and the more urgent the need for corrective action. Another way to assess risk is to quantify it, and the best tool for this is expected monetary value, or YEMV. YEMV helps us put a dollar value on our risks, which allows for an objective ranking. The formula is straightforward. YEMV equals the probability of the risk occurring multiplied by its cost impact. A key point is that the YEMV is negative for threats, representing a potential cost, and positive for opportunities, representing a potential gain. This calculation is incredibly useful for determining the project's budget reserves. You simply sum the YEMV of all your risks and subtract the sum of the YEMV of all your opportunities to find out how much contingency funding you should set aside. With our risks identified and prioritized, we move to step 3, developing our response. We need a specific game plan for each significant risk, and our strategies will differ depending on whether we're dealing with a threat or an opportunity. For negative risks or threats, we have 4 main strategies. Mitigate. This means reducing the likelihood or the impact of the risk. A good example is testing a prototype to catch issues early. Avoid. Here, we change the project plan to completely eliminate the risk. Transfer. This involves passing the risk to another party, for example, by buying insurance or requiring a warranty from a vendor. Retain or accept. Finally, we can make a conscious decision to accept a risk, usually when it's minor. For positive risks or opportunities, our strategies are exploit, taking action to ensure the opportunity happens. Share, partnering with another party who is better able to capture the opportunity for the project's benefit. Enhance, taking steps to increase the probability or positive impact of the opportunity. Accept, being ready to take advantage of the opportunity if it arises, but not actively pursuing it. A core part of risk response is the contingency plan. This is your Plan B, an alternative plan that you will use only if a foreseen risk event actually occurs. Having a contingency plan is critical because making decisions under pressure in the middle of a crisis can lead to slow, dangerous, and very costly mistakes. A good contingency plan is tied to a specific trigger, a clear signal or event that tells you it's time to put the plan into action. We document all of this in a risk response matrix, as shown here. It clearly lays out the risk, the proactive response, the reactive contingency plan, the trigger for that plan, and who is responsible for taking action. Finally, we arrive at step 4, risk response control. It is essential to understand that risk management is not a one-time activity that you complete and forget about. It's a continuous, ongoing process throughout the project's life. Key activities in this phase include executing your planned risk strategies, actively monitoring for risk triggers, and initiating your contingency plans when needed. You must also continue to watch for new risks that may emerge. A formal change management system is crucial here to handle any changes to the project's scope, schedule, or budget that result from your risk responses. All of this information, the risks, their status, and the response plans, is tracked in a living document called the Risk Register. So, to wrap things up, let's review the key takeaways. First, always be proactive, not reactive. Effective risk management gives you better control over the future of your project. Second, act early. Remember that risk is highest at the start of a project, but this is also when it's the cheapest and easiest to address. Third, use the structured 4-step process. Identify, assess, respond, and control. This provides a repeatable framework for success. Fourth, quantify your risks when you can. Tools like YEMV and FMEA help you make objective decisions and justify budget reserves. And finally, document and monitor everything. A well-maintained risk register and a formal change management process are your best tools for keeping the entire team aligned and in control.